Hello, friends. Good evening, everyone. And we are once again back to our botany basics, and we are discussing some details of flowering plants. So let's go. See, what you are watching here is structure of a typical flower. Typical flower looks something like this. See, this is how a flower looks like. Well, now let's go to few of its fundamentals. See, let us watch these parts one by one and let us begin with this basic structure. This is the stalk of flower and that is called thalamus. Then comes, that is called pedicel. Then comes the second part and that is thalamus. Thalamus is that condensed axis on which the floral whorls are arranged. It may have various different shapes, but here for our convenience, I have taken this shape. And now the very first floral whorl that is located there, inserted there, that is calyx. Calyx is the outermost floral whorl. Its individual member is known as sepal. And this entire structure is known as calyx. Fine. So the first part of the flower is calyx. Then comes the second part, that is corolla, that is inserted above the level of calyx. This distance may be very less in many flowers, and this is actually the internode between corolla and calyx, and individual member of corolla is called petal, while this entire floral is known as corolla. Corolla. This is single petal, and this group of petals that is inserted on thalamus, that is known as corolla. And now let's go to the next floral whorl, and that is the male reproductive part of flower, and that is androssium. Single member of androssium is called stamen, and this entire floral whorl is called androssium. Stamen is a single member of that, and the fourth floral whorl we study here is gynoecium, that is at the top of this thalamus, and this gynoecium, its single member is called pistil, or it is also called carpel. Carp is fruit in the botanical terminologies. Carp means fruit, and carpel is a part that further develops into fruit. When this flower, after double fertilization, will develop or transform into fruit, this basal part of this gynoecium, that is pistil or carpel, that is ovary, this ovary will get enlarged and it will transform into fruit. So this is called carpel because it transforms into fruit, or it is also called pistil. Single member of gynoecium is called pistil or carpel. And when there is a floral whorl made of many pistils, many carpels, then that is called gynoecium. All right, so let's try to understand few more details of this. See, Here, let's go to just gynoecium part of it, and for our convenience, let's uh, not see any of these. Sorry. Uh, let's go to just this much part. It is the axis of flower. See, this is axis of flower, and here in this axis, what you can note here is there is pedicel, the stalk of the flower. It is not necessary that every flower should have a stalk. There are some flowers which lack this. They are called apedicellate flowers, or they are called sessile flowers. They do not have any stalk. Then at the top of this stalk, there comes this thalamus. At the top of thalamus, there is this gynoecium or pistil placed. So I'm going to explain you something interesting related to that. Few types of flower depending upon position of this ovary. This ovary sometimes is present uh, here, merged in the thalamus. Such conditions, the thalamus is cup-shaped and ovary is placed inside it. So such a ovary is called inferior ovary. While writing floral formula, we indicate that with this symbol, I'm sorry, yeah, and the second one is if the pistil is present, it is if the ovary is semi-inferior, then it is something like this. If the ovary is present at the top of the flower, then it is something like this. Symbolically, we represent that something like this while writing floral. All right, so if in case this ovary is present at the top of the flower, then what will happen? Here, in this case, the Androssium, uh, corolla, and calyx, they will arise below the level of tree. They are all located below the level of this ovary. This is called uh, superior ovary, and calyx, corolla, and androssium, they arise above the level of below the level of this ovary or this gynoecium. As other floral whorls, means calyx, corolla, androssium, they arise below the gynoecium. That is why this flower having superior ovary is called Hypogynous flower. Hypogynous flowers, they have superior ovary. Calyx, corolla, and androssium, they are located below the level of this superior ovary. Let's go to a more detailed view of that. See, I'll take this view and prefer to draw some, take some 3D parts of it. Say, here is the calyx, is corolla, and here's androssium. So if you have a closer look at this flower, see, then you will note that here the ovary is present at the top of thalamus. Means it is, yes, is superior ovary. And what happened because of that? Because of that, calyx, corolla, and androssium, they are all below the level of gynoecium, and that is why it is called Hypogynous. Hypo means below, and gynous is below. Gynoecium, hypogynous flowers means the rest of the floral whorl other than gynoecium, they are below gynoecium. That is why that is called hypogynous, and the ovary is superior in this case. Fine. So let's go to a few more details now. See, uh, let's go to this view, and I'll take back here I'll place back the ovary somewhat deeper level. See, imagine the ovary is not completely merged in thalamus. Thalamus is cup shaped in this case. So what will happen because of that? Because of that, the other floral whorls means the calyx, corolla, and androssium, they will be around the ovary, and such an ovary is semi superior, or you can call it semi inferior as well. And you can note that calyx, corolla, androssium, they are all arranged around this ovary, around this gynoecium. So such a flower is called perigynous flower. Peri means around, and rest of the floral whorls, they are around gynoecium, and hence it is called perigynous flower. Fine. So let us go to one more type of flower, that is, see, imagine this gynoecium is this ovary of this gynoecium. See, once again I'll tell you, this single member of gynoecium is called pistil or carpel. It is a single member of gynoecium. The top part of it is stigma that receives pollen grains for pollination. This long part that carries the pollen tube with gametes towards the ovule inside this ovary, that is known as style, and there is the basal part that is called ovary. If this ovary is at the top of thalamus, it is called superior ovary. If it is uh, merged but not completely, it is called semi-superior ovary or semi-inferior ovary. And if it is completely merged inside this gynoecium, then it is called inferior ovary. See, in this case, if you note it somewhat comprehensively, then you can note that in this case, here, calyx, corolla, and androssium, they are all located above the level of ovary. See, calyx, corolla, androssium, they are all located above the level of this ovary, basal part of gynoecium. So such an ovary is known as inferior. Wait a moment. It's called well. Let go to my digital chalk and will be clear to understand. Fine. So here the ovary is at the base. This is ovary at the base. See, this ovary is inside this thalamus. And here, all floral woods, other floral woods, they arise above the level of ovary. They all are born above the level of ovary. And that is why the ovary in this case is known as inferior ovary, and the flower is called Epigynous. Means in this case, Calyx, corolla, Androssium, all of them, they are arising above the level of, and that is why that is known as Epigynous flower. So there are three types of flowers we study. Those are just a moment. Is this labeling? There are three types of flowers we study. Those are Epigynous flower. Epigynous flower has superior ovary. Perigynous flower has semi-inferior ovary, while the epigynous flowers, they have inferior ovary is located somewhat below. See, you can note here now that the ovary is completely merged inside this thalamus. If in case this ovary is above the level of all these floral buds, then it is superior. It is at the top of thalamus. So if you see this visual somewhat carefully, then you can know that very comprehensively in that is superior ovary, and if in case it is somewhat merged, then it is called semi-inferior ovary, and if it is completely merged, then it is called inferior. So while writing the features of any plant in botany, we write this even in the floral form. So that how is the ovary and what is the type of flower we write in its description. So the flowers are hypogynous or epigynous or perigynous. So that's what we are actually watching in this visual. All right, so it will not be somewhere here, of course. Yeah, we'll be resting on thalamus. So this was a quick tip once again. Thank you for listening me so kindly, and see you tomorrow again with a new quick tip. Thank you. Have a nice time.